Hi, this is a very big moment for EPPF. I am here to present a live stream, and the reason is this is our first live stream, and I am just experimenting, goofing around. So I thought to make a video using a mind map and about current account deficit and its consequences. So I don't exactly know how the content will look like, but I just wanted to give it, a try and see how we are able to do it and see if we can take something from there. So to answer the question from a lot of people, I've been receiving this request from you on making a video on the current account deficit and its consequences. So what is current account deficit? Current account deficit, sorry about that. And let me fix. So I'll be using this mind map tool from bubble.us, and I find it pretty useful and handy. So current account deficit is when income leaving the country is greater than flowing in, and this could be because of a few factors, such as number one, imports greater than exports, number two, remittances leaving the country is greater than flowing in, and stuff like that. So this is one reason of how current account deficit could be. So what are the consequences of current account? I would be making a series of videos on current account, so this is a short video on current account deficit to help you with the 8-mark essay questions in paper 2. So current account deficit would be, and the consequences, let's give this a cool color, something different. Yeah. So what are the consequences of a current account deficit? The first current thing is that if imports are increasing, then imports aggregate demand may decrease. This is the first thing. If aggregate demand may decrease, it could mean that output is decreasing, which could lead to unemployment because the businesses start to shut down if there is a lack of domestic growth, and lesser people would be employed and the unemployment may rise. So let me correct the spelling first. Unemployment may rise if output is decreasing, and there could be a decrease in GDP. That's a given, just to make it more clearer. So now we have, this shows how we follow our chain of thought, that when the current account deficit, one of the consequences is aggregate demand may decrease. Why? Because imports are larger or more than exports, which mean M is greater than X. So of course aggregate demand may shift towards the left, aggregate demand may decrease, output is decreasing, decrease in GDP, unemployment may rise. One of the other consequence could be that price could fall also, which is not always a good thing. Price levels may fall, they may ease inflationary pressures, although this is not always advisable because a fall in prices due to aggregate demand is one of the harbingers of recession, not always a good thing. So this is one of the consequences of aggregate demand, of current account deficit. What else? And so this is harmful, and so a deficit also have if incomes at home are greater than abroad, or other thing could be that economy is growing. This is also one of the causes of current account deficit. So what would be the consequence of of such a deficit, one of the uh, thing is that if there are more imports than exports, which means the demand for your currency may fall if it is a floating exchange rate. So currency may depreciate. And what would this happen? It would mean that exports become cheaper and imports become more expensive. Now this is where it gets interesting, because this will also follow two parts. So if exports become cheaper and they are elastic, right? So in the long run, what will happen is that people are going to demand more of our exports. So demand may increase abroad, which may resulting in an increase in export revenue, and in fact it may help in reducing the current account deficit. But this is all possible if your exports are elastic, and it is going to take a lot of time. Always remember that there's a significant time lag involved. Imports may become more expensive. So when imports become more expensive, and if they are elastic, people may consume less imports. Import expenses may fall, and this may also reduce current account deficit. Now this is the good part. This is what the good news is. But if the, sorry about the spelling, if the goods are not elastic, if they are inelastic, then what happens? Then it is not a very good scenario for the country in either way, because if I am to just do this for a while, I'll arrange it later, but just to, if this is inelastic, if our exports are inelastic, then what will happen is that a reduction in the price of exports will not encourage a very significant increase in exports, since the demand is inelastic. So the export revenue may fall, because people may not consume more even if the price is falling, because the goods are inelastic. The demand will not see much of an impact. So the current account deficit may increase. Ouch. Yeah, this may also happen, and this is your evaluative part. So for example, if the question appears in such a way that it asks you whether current account deficit is going to, or let's say depreciation of exchange rate may help a currency, so you may include the discussion of elastic and inelastic elasticity of exports and imports, because if it is elastic, then it is going to help. If it is inelastic, then the current account deficit situation may get worse. Yeah. I'm not, and this will be the same for imports also. If imports are inelastic, since they are becoming more expensive, you are going to spend more on imports. The current account deficit may also increase. Yeah, bad news. And that's the problem, that we have to understand that there are some very harmful consequences of current account deficit, and that may happen. That depends upon the cause, or on the cause. So for example, if someone asks you when is a current account deficit harmful, when are the consequences harmful, so it's going to be harmful. And when you are making this assessment if the current account deficit is harmful or not, there are a few factors which you need to consider. The first factor is the size of the deficit, right? If the size of the deficit is large, it is going to be a cause of concern. Sorry about that, that's my alarm going off. The size of the deficit, it is going to be harmful if, let's assume that it is persistent, which means it doesn't go away. The deficit does not decrease or keeps on increasing. It is harmful for the economy because it is going to put it is going to pressurize or devalue your currency, which is going to make your imports more expensive. And if your imports are inelastic, as is the case in most developing countries, since you would require more petrol and more oil, which you are dependent on other countries to provide you with, so yeah, you're going to get expensive imports, which is going to cripple your economy. So you have to look at the current account deficit. If it is large, if it is persistent, if the gap between outflows and inflows is large, it is harmful for the economy. It is harmful for the economy if the current account deficit is because of something known as structural deficit. What is structural deficit? Structural deficit is a deficit which is caused by the fact when your industries are not competitive, when your domestic industry is not able to compete with foreign businesses, and hence no one wants to buy your domestically produced goods because of bad quality, because of being expensive. So yeah, the exports may see a decline and imports may see an increase. This is not easy to correct. This is not self-correcting, and hence it is going to affect the economy very negatively. The government would have to take serious measures, would have to invest in different policies in order to reverse this. Otherwise, there are some benign and not less harmful, but benign. So for example, benign means that they, relatively speaking, less harmful. So I'll be using the word benign. I could have used the word non-malignant, but yeah, that would seem too medical for me. Benign. So when is a current account deficit is something not to worry about. It is when it is short-lived. And when is it short-lived? It is short-lived when there is a recession abroad, and a recession abroad may not last a long time. So your exports may start to increase again very soon. So the effect of the current account deficit may not be as high or as harmful, because if the exports are falling due to a global recession, or let's say a recession in a particular country, then the country may bounce back from a recession and the exports may start to increase again of your country. So the current account deficit may reduce. It is also benign, or it is less harmful if this current account deficit is caused by domestic growth. Yeah, this is something which you need to be aware of. When the economy is growing, you would need, demand for imports may increase. And when demand for imports may increase, why? Because you would need more capital, you would need more tools for infrastructure or chemicals or other things from other countries, because different countries specialize in different things. So you may need different things in order to expand. If you need that, your demand for imports may increase, and that is because your economy is growing. So if temporarily or for a very short, let's say for a shorter run, you may experience a current account deficit because imports may be larger or may be greater than exports. But as your demand for import, as your output increases, because you're growing, as output increases, what will happen is that you may start exporting some of that output also, which is going to result in an increase in exports. and when your result in increase in exports start to happen, the current account deficit may start to reduce on its own. So recapping, this is a very quick, this is not the entire thing, but it's a very quick way of understanding this concept. And for more details, Susan Grant, reading of Susan Grant of pages 362 and 63 of the new edition would be in order, but this is something which would make you understand about the topic. Please leave a comment if you think this is helpful. Let me know how it worked for you, and let me know what other topic you would want me to recap. Thanks. Hope you have a nice time. Thank you.